And Pledge of Allegiance first. Thank you. Henry, would you lead the prayer?
Yes. Let us pray. Father, we thank you, Lord, for blessing us to be able to come out today to see a day that you've made to allow us to conduct business of the county. We thank you, Father, for this privilege. We ask you to bless the decisions that are made today. Bless the commissioners and all who are here. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have an agenda for you gentlemen. We've got a couple of changes we need to look at. The first change, we're going to move Miss Annie Mobley to the front before the citizens' comments. She'd like to speak to us a moment, but she's got some other things she needs to do afterwards. So she'll be moved up to just before citizens' comments. And then in the department reports under Morgan Jethro, she's got added number 5, which will be a public hearing for the CDBG scattered site. The Wooten Company, this will be the first public hearing for the scattered site grants. That'll be all the changes. If there are any other questions, if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
So moved.
Second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, next on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes. You have a copy of the minutes before you, gentlemen. I hope you had a chance to look over them. Are there any modifications that need to be made to the minutes?
One typo that we
Folks,
front page, Cal Bryant gave us the front porch, not poach.
Cal, we thought you were poaching eggs on the porch there, bud. If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. Miss Annie, would you like to speak now? We welcome you here, Miss Annie. Little, but okay.
I believe it's on. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Gates County this morning.
Thank you very much, and good
And
morning.
I'm sorry I didn't refer to you as Representative Miss Mobley, but I've known you called you Miss Annie for so long.
That's all right. I want to thank you, gentlemen, and say good morning to you, gentlemen, ladies, and those of you who are in the audience. I truly appreciate this opportunity. I start by saying that I know you are aware of the I'm not sure how to refer to it, the session that we've just completed, and it's still not complete, it seems, because invariably we get called back. In fact, our next session that's being scheduled for is in April. It's been like a hurry-scurry around the way, and there have been some interesting things, and as I looked down the agenda, I saw one of them that about this concealed weapons, and that's something that I'm sure you're going to have to deal with, but it is what it is, and we just have to accept it wherever we can and make the adjustments wherever. It's been an interesting session for all of us, and if you follow the news, it continues to be ever-changing each and almost every day. In the North Carolina House, you've noticed that if you've kept up with the filings and all, there are a number of people who are not choosing to file again. Not just Democrats, not just Republicans. They're all in there together. Everybody's deciding that this is my time to bail out or this is my time to get out. Well, I made a commitment almost 6 years ago in terms of my willingness to serve, and I continue to stand firm on that commitment to serve and do whatever I can for the area for which I'm scheduled to serve or assigned to serve for. The change that has come about for my district is elimination of Pequimans County and adding on a portion of Pasquotank County. I was over in Pasquotank County earlier this week, and I said to the commissioners, I can't stand here and tell you I know exactly where the lines are. And one of them remarked, we don't know either. So we're in this together, learning as to where we're headed. I come before you to ask your continued cooperation, your continued support, and to let you know that you've always been a part of my concern with regard to moving forth with the things that need to be done in our district and in our region. There's not much changed about me. If you remember me when I came before you almost 6 years ago, I'm pretty much the same, just a little few years older. But that too is a blessing because I've managed to hold my health, and with the Almighty, I continue to do that. I stand before you to try to answer any questions or concerns that you might have, and to let you know my office doors remain open. The short session starts in May, so that's when we start the 2012 session, sometimes in May, and that is considered a short session. I'm hearing that we may be there for 6 weeks. I'm hearing we may not be there but 30 days. But whatever the time that they have decided on, the leadership has decided on, I'm sure that's what we will adhere to. But our election, the primary comes up in May, and I will be on the ballot for May, and I ask you, all of you, when you go to the polls, whether you do it early or whether you do it the day of the primary, make sure you look for my name, and if you feel that I'm the best candidate for the occasion, I ask that you push the button for my name. And at this time, if you have a question of me, I'll be delighted to try to answer it. The reason I'm kind of rushing away today is in Ahoskie at the Gallery Theater, on yesterday they entertained Bertie County youth at the Gallery Theater with a Spanish dance group. And today is Hertford County Day. I was asking Mr. Graham if Gates County had a date to be there. It would have been an ideal situation for them the students to experience. It was most interesting to me. I sat through the presentation on yesterday, and I encourage you to possibly be in touch with the Gallery Theater to see when Gates County children can get to witness such a great event, and an interesting and entertaining group. At this time, if you have questions, I will yield to that.
I have one issue that I would like for you to take to Raleigh. I've been talking to Senator Walter Jones's office since he's our district name. The FCC Communications Corporation has a issue that they do not allow the broadcast of satellite cable channels or local channels in certain zip codes. Here in Gates County, we do not have the privilege of having broadcasts from out of Greenville or Raleigh. Therefore, we miss a lot of local news coming out of the Raleigh area as to what our representatives are doing in Raleigh. Now, the FCC is a big organization. Like some of the zip codes in Northampton County can receive Raleigh, or WRAL. Hertford County, I believe on the lower side, if I'm correct, can receive WNCT. However, here in Gates County, none of us border states, we are subjected to the Hampton Roads area because of the radius. So what I'd like to see done is some of the representatives in the state of North Carolina get on board with this and help border counties that are with another state that is being served by these Virginia stations or South Carolina, and there's some of those, and even Tennessee, that they have the opportunity to have their choice or both to receive local satellite TV cable from a North Carolina station. I mean, we are really, is taxation without representation as far as I'm concerned, as far as knowing what's going on in Raleigh without getting on the internet or whatever. So I would like to see you get on this bandwagon and carry that to the floor.
I can assure you that I will do my very best in trying to follow up and follow through. I would ask that you have your clerk send me a summary or an update in terms of what you're calling for, and I'll see if I can't put that on my plate as well. And
Sounds
I
good.
know it has to be frustrating when we cannot get news of our local, in our local area about what's going on. It has been a concern that has been addressed and will continue to be addressed, and I'll
Right.
make sure that I speak up and speak out for Gates County. Thank you for calling that to my
Yes, ma'am.
attention.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the audience for Ms. Mobley? If not, we thank you.
Could you,
Okay.
Representative Mobley, could you give us just some outlook or perspective on the upcoming budget prediction from the governor's office? Is it grim and dim, or shall we say, is it maybe a little brighter this year?
I can't say in good confidence that it's going to improve a great deal, because they're still talking about what has to be cut or what needs to be cut. I have not been to an appropriations meeting. We had one scheduled a week or two ago, but it was canceled. I am not on the leadership team, but I am on the appropriations committee. But I don't think anything exciting is going to come out in terms of seeing an improvement in the funding that's around.
My question, I guess, or more of a statement, kind of piggybacks with Vice Chairman Jordan as far as the budget. If there are cuts, and there will be cuts from all indications that we're getting, one of our biggest concerns would be that secondary roads are not pushed down to the counties. And we would ask that you would be a champion against that, because that would cripple counties like Hertford, Bertie, and Gates that you represent to have to take over the maintenance of secondary roads.
Thank you, and I appreciate you reminding me of that, because the roads is always, and my husband tells me all the time, you all need to do something about these roads down here. I noticed that as I passed through, and as you passed through going to Ahoskie, that mound of dirt was there. Well, this morning I noticed that it's not there.
Along
but
with the road, they're taking the road with it.
I couldn't understand that. I could not understand, well, if you take the mound of dirt away, why take the road away? So it's still not going to apparently be passable for people to go through. And of course, there is a need for, if we could get our roads in better shape, maybe we could bring some more jobs in. We're continuously working on that, and that remains in the forefront of my mind to try to improve the byways of our area so that we can get the trucks or whatever in and out and through, so that we can bring in newer, larger and more industry.
Anything else,
Thank-
gentlemen?
Thank you so very much, and you all have a great day. I'm going to stick around just for a few minutes, but then
Likewise.
I'll be
We thank you for your time, Mr.
sure.
All right, next on our agenda, we'll have our citizens' comments. We have one, Miss Esther.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I stand before you representing a very powerful group in Gates County, the Healthy Partnership known as the Gates Partners for Health. Now we're known statewide as being very active after our award this past October. You have before you the 2011 State of the County Health Report. It is required by the state that a State of the County Health Report be prepared each year, that we do not have a community health assessment. Our last community health assessment was done in 2010. This basically gives you a summary or highlight of things that are in Gates County, and what we are concerned with are the top leading causes of death, and you see those listed, with cancer being number one. As we look at the state of our county, you also have a sheet that has a map of North Carolina, and it has the rankings of all of the counties in North Carolina. It's sad to report that we're not number one. Wake County is considered the healthiest county in North Carolina. Our ranking for Gates County is 81. So we have a lot of work to do to improve the health of our citizens who are living here in Gates County. Some of the activities that the Gates Partners for Health have been involved in for the past year are listed on the back side of the State of the County Health Report, and I will just highlight a few of those for you. We are continuing to do health screenings throughout the county at various events. We do have a very active cancer support group. We worked very hard last year to get that going, and it is continuing. Our average attendance is between 12 and 15. And we have 3 strong supporters for this cancer support group. Those supporters are Rest Care Home Care, the Roanoke Chowan Community Health Center, and the Vidant Roanoke Chowan Hospital. So they're very active, involved with the continuation of our cancer support group. We also are continuing with our diabetes. We do have a lot of citizens in the county who live with diabetes. We even have people walking around who have diabetes and are not even aware of it. And we are concerned because we know that untreated or even treated, that diabetes can lead to other health illnesses. On March the 24th, we will have our 2nd annual Diabetes Day. It will be held at the Merchants Mill Pond Visitor Center, and that event will focus only on the chronic disease diabetes. We have health professionals who will be there. We also have a medical group out of Chesapeake, Virginia, who will be present doing A1Cs. So we're very pleased with the agenda that we have planned. It will start at 9:30 on March the 24th, and that is a Saturday morning. So we will love to see some of our county commissioners to come out and support us in this event. We are also conducting classes in the county. Right now we have 3 classes that are currently in progress, and these are being taught by lay leaders. The lay leaders were trained last year through the Albemarle Commission Area Agency of Aging. And we were trained in chronic disease self-management program and also diabetes self-management program. We currently have a class that is taking place at New Miller Swamp Missionary Baptist Church on Wednesday evenings. I think they have 3 more sessions. Each class contains 6 weeks of classes, 2.5 hours each class. Our 2nd diabetes self-management class is being taught on Friday mornings at the community center, starting at 10:30. And at the community center also on Friday mornings, Friday afternoon starting at 1:30, we have the chronic disease self-management class being taught. These classes are available to anyone who is interested in learning how to manage their chronic diseases or how to better manage their diabetes. So we're encouraging you to share the word with the community as we continue to share the word. We're trying to educate because it's very powerful when you know what to do. And we were very pleased last fall with our Family Fun and Fitness Day, our 5th year. We had the Farm Bureau Healthy Living Unit to come down, and I think some of you I did see, or I think I saw, or I hope I saw you there in support of us. But we're continuing to do that, and that was a huge success. The Healthy Living Van was able to screen 110 residents in the county. And of course, they always have follow-up. If you had a doctor, the information was forwarded to the doctor. The new initiative, I don't need to talk about that because the picture was on the front, and that was our farmers market. I want you to know we're alive and well. We started our February meeting, planning for this year. The date has been set, and we will be opening the farmers market on Memorial Day weekend, 9 o'clock, same location. And of course, we continue to address obesity through our walk-in challenges that we have in the community and in the school system. And we're in cooperation with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Services, Gates County Center. They have excellent programs. One of the programs was Get Fit for Families, addressing nutrition and physical activity, and the Gates Partners for Health provided health bucks to the families. Those health bucks were cashable at the farmers market for fresh produce. So we'll continue to collaborate with the agencies in the county and also in the surrounding areas. And of course, our prevention and early detection addressed through access to health care. You know the great accomplishments. We have a dentist. I've listed the hours of the dentist. We also have the Gateway Community Health Centers, and we are so pleased. It's a work in progress. You just don't open the doors the first day and expect 100% cooperation on everything. Those ladies and gentlemen involved are doing an outstanding job. And what helps sometimes if the county commissioners would just stop by the Gatesville site and just say, well, I heard that you're doing a beautiful job. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Although it's not being funded by you, but we're a part of the county. And continue to pass the word. Thank you. Are there any questions that I may entertain at this time?
You said that you want to start the farm market at 9 o'clock this year?
On Saturday, yes. The vendors, prospective vendors, and the Farmers Market Board decided 9 o'clock. 8 o'clock was a little pushing, and we didn't have that many customers that early in the morning. So we're trying to gear it towards the community.
You can extend it on the other end any at all, stay till 12 o'clock
No, we're from 9 to 1.
to 1.
Now, the county does support some of the funding for Gates County Partners for Health, but not this specific event that you're talking about, right? Because I know we
The farmers market.
No,
Oh.
the Gates County Community Health Centers. I think you said it was not funded by the county.
Okay, talking about the new federally qualified community health center, the Gateway, which used to be the medical center in Gatesville.
Right.
Yeah. The buck of the funding is coming directly in there from the federal government.
Right, right. And that's for that,
Yes.
that particular entity.
Yes. And I do like to say thank you again to the commissioners for your support with the Gates Partners for Health. Without your help, I could not be standing here. Without your help, a lot of things would not be done because our board consists of people who have full-time jobs. They have their plate full, but they do continue to help. But there takes another person to make sure that things follow through. So I do appreciate your financial support. And I pray that I will continue to be able to stand before you and say thank you for your financial support.
Ms. Laster, I noticed
Yes.
on the graph here, which is pretty obvious looking at this, it's the most, the better counties are the ones that have jobs and industrialized thing and have health care, of course.
Yes.
Except for a few exceptions here, which I'm not familiar with Transylvania County, but it would be interesting to look at this graph as to the matrix of the average age in each county. you know, comparing how elderly counties versus young, energetic counties like Wake, Research Triangle Park, and things like that.
Okay. You can probably go to the website, North Carolina, and if you continued your search, that information may be available on the site.
All right. Thank
But that is an interesting observation. Any other comments or questions?
March 24th?
Yes,
March 24th at the Mill Pond,
yes.
and the time that that's going to start?
It starts at 9:30,
Okay.
9:30 to 1.
I hope
And
to
this
see
will
you
be
there.
our second year.
I hope to see you there.
Okay. I will be there bright and early.
Thank you, Ms. Lassiter.
Thank you,
We thank you for everything you do for Gates County.
and thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be moving now to our department reports. The first one we have is our finance officer, Ms. Sandy Pittman. Welcome, Sandy. Hop along here.
Thank you, Graham. I'm a little shorter than Ms. Lassiter. I just have 3 budget amendments this morning, and these, I think, are all fairly straightforward. Number 45, we just refinanced the school debt that we had, the $6.5 million note. This budget amendment is to reallocate the funds in order to cover the fees that were involved with that. We basically reallocated within the budget and not pulled money from fund balance to cover that. Number 46, this is to cover the cost of having the application for the 2011 CDBG Scattered Site Housing Grant taken care of. Once we get this grant in place, the county will be reimbursed for these funds, but we have to pay up front to have that application taken care of. Number 47, when we do the budget each year for our insurance, we have to estimate the allocation. They come in the fall and they do an audit. Once that audit is completed, we go in and we reallocate the funds as needed between the departments. So that's what this is. It'll affect the state and federal admin through DSS, and then we've reallocated the expenditures through the other departments to cover the difference. And that's all I have for that today.
All right, gentlemen, you have any questions?
I make a motion, we accept Budget Amendment 45, 46, and 47 as presented.
All right, we've got a motion. If there are no other questions, do we have a second?
Second?
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Thank you,
Okay.
Sandy.
You're welcome.
One question. The USDA loan, did you find out if extra payments were appropriate against that note?
I have not. I have pulled the paperwork, but I have not looked through it to find out. And I believe I sent you all that paperwork.
Okay,
Upon
did
your
you-
request, you emailed a request, and I think I sent it all to you, but I have not dug through it to find out, no.
If you will do that, I would appreciate that.
I certainly will.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, I've got one other quick thing. Our insurance company has requested that we implement a wellness program in order to try to keep costs down. We have scheduled a health fair for April 12th, I believe, and we have recommended that employees participate in this in order to keep our costs down. We would also like maybe some guidance from you all as far as possibly making this a mandatory event for the employees. It'll be held during business hours on county grounds. This really is something that will help us to keep the insurance costs down over time and maybe help us to continue the 100% coverage of the insurance and the premiums for the employees. And really just looking for you all to help us out with that and maybe making this a mandatory event in order to keep our insurance going the way it is.
Let me ask you, is this an online event now? There are a lot of companies, which several of them will do that, have wellness things where you actually take a web-based.
No, they're going to come here and do it. They're going to do screenings. They'll have nurses here, and they'll do an actual biometric screening here on site. And then we're going to set that part up in here, and in the extension auditorium, there will be vendors set up there with booths where they can also go get information.
So physical testing rather than informational testing.
Correct. Yep. And this, yes,
I was going to say, I can add to this topic a little bit. When an annual review comes up for re-rating, decreases, increases, you have a scoring table. And if you're a group that participates in that type of event, then that's a plus on the scoring side.
right.
So just participating is one thing. If it's made mandatory, then it has a greater weight to it in the rating. So I would certainly be in favor of that. I just participated in one myself.
Okay.
And the reasoning for it, it sort of falls in line with this little graph we got here about the counties that are the healthiest. It's actually, they're looking for the person that has diabetes that doesn't know it yet.
Correct.
So it's a preventative type care thing, and it's something we should make mandatory. It's not a burden to anyone. It really is a proactive way of caring for your employees, as well as for the insurance part of the budget.
Right, I think so too. I think all around, it's a good program. And by doing this during business hours, hopefully we won't put anybody out. They'll be here anyway, and they can just take a little bit of their time to come over and do the screening and walk through the different vendors and get some of the information that's next door as well.
This will be, what's the time frame?
I believe it's from 9 to 12 or 9 to
I
1
think
on
it's
April
9 to 1,
12th.
but I think there'll be multiple shifts so that no offices would have to shut down. I think the
Right.
department heads will be able to schedule.
That's what I was,
I think each employee will only take maybe 20 or 30 minutes for the actual screening to do what has to be done. And if we can work it out, like he said, to keep the offices manned, I don't think it'll be an issue there.
any other questions?
Mr.
If
Chairman,
not, we'll entertain a motion to make make a requirement for all county employees to attend the health fair as requested.
Have we implemented it yet?
No, and I don't know if this matters in the wording, but, our part-time employees are not covered on the insurance. I'm not sure if you want to extend it to them, or if you just want employees who are covered under the insurance
Well,
to be
if
mandatory.
this is a health issue, I think all employees should be part of this, not just because they're on our health insurance. If we're looking for people that aren't sure or don't know if they have diabetes, every one of our employees ought to be able to go through this.
Okay, yeah, and
That
I
would
think
be
it's
my
a great
fault.
thing. I agree.
But, you're not asking for this today, are you? I mean, you haven't,
What the health fair is already planned. We have it set up and in place. We just obviously don't have the power to make it mandatory. They've already set everything up. We've scheduled it. As long as we have half of our employees that are covered show up, there's no cost to the county. They provide everything, the supplies and everything. So we already do have it in place. We have set it up. We just would like to make it mandatory for the employees.
well, let me add one more point to it. Okay, we need to, whatever motions are going to come from the board, we need to take in consideration, Mr. Chairman, that there's a possibility that the insurance company will not want to include the part-time out of cost, so they could exclude them. Not saying they will.
That's true. And I don't know the answer to that, and I will check that
Right.
to see.
So I would, in our interpretation or the making of our motion, we need to make it with,
Is there a cost to this? It's not to the county, right?
As long as more than half.
More than half of
attend.
the employees.
But the insurance company is paying for it, and so,
Okay.
like
The
Jack said, that
insurance-
may be, that might be an issue, and I can check that when I get back to the office.
they could exclude on their end.
Right, people that are not covered, that's correct.
Yeah, I think another thing, if you're dealing with part-time, is if you have part-time people that are off that day, they're going to have to come in, and then we're going to have to talk about compensation. So I think if you get into part-time, I think you're maybe going down a road that's not necessarily the intent of this.
Renee, you had something.
Just something to keep in mind, I have no issue with this being mandatory, in fact, I've already asked my employees to put this date on their calendar. But there probably needs to be some, if this made mandatory, some provisions made, if for some reason, an employee is not able to be here that day.
Yeah.
If that's something.
Yeah, and we're working on that. That's something we've discussed with them already. We understand that, 100%, obviously, you're not going to be here every day, so we'll work through that as we can.
Okay.
Well, certainly, it's a good thing, but I don't want to mandate something to a person. I think they should do what Renee saying, encouraged, but I don't want a black mark because you refuse to do something. Healthcare is a very private thing for individuals. It is their personal responsibility. As an employee, you would be encouraged to do that, and anybody would, but I don't like, forcing people to do something. You might have, well, this has been a big topic in the news with the religious thing and everything, so I don't know how that entails, but there are certain things that people, sometimes health issues, they really, that aren't really things that cost money that they don't want people to know about. So it's an individual thing.
I think it becomes a county thing when we pay for 100% of a county's employees' insurance.
That's exactly right, and I agree.
I think if we, the county, and you, the citizens, are going to pay for someone's insurance, I think the least they could do is come and participate in a health fair to possibly be healthier to keep our costs down.
And they should be encouraged, I agree.
Chairman?
I got a question. Colleen, your department is probably the largest department we have. What's your feeling on this? I mean, just the...
I think mandatory is fine. I think you've got to find a way to accommodate those that aren't going to be available, whether it's an alternate day or if it truly is mandatory, a way to show proof that I'm under a doctor's care and I'm having these things monitored. I agree. I think if you're going to pay 100%, there's got to be some accountability on the employee's part. I worry about, mandatory implies consequences. What's the consequences for failure to participate?
Yes.
Something that would need to be considered and maybe even laid out clearly. Incentives. I don't know what an appropriate incentive would be, but if you could incentivize employees to participate, that might be an option. So again, I would just be concerned about the consequence that's implied when you indicate mandatory and accommodations for those that aren't going to be available on the day. But I agree with the concept.
Yeah, I think that if we make it mandatory, we ought to give the supervisors some authority to excuse him unless excused or permitted not to be there by the department head or supervisor. That way, if there's something that the employee has that they don't want to be revealed or whatever, they have the option. So, but we would still be mandatory unless excused by the department head.
You want to make that some type of motion, Henry?
Well, before we do, one more point of discussion, okay? I have a little more knowledge on this particular topic. And having just gone through it 2 weeks ago, our documentation, the form that we were handed to sign, says that as of, and I'll just pick a date, I don't remember what it was, as of April 1st, you will be removed from the plan and have no coverage. Okay, so there's a little more to it. So what is the date scheduled for the, what is the date scheduled?
For April 12th.
Okay, that's certainly something because I don't, at this point, and I'm hearing the conversation here, I don't think we could begin to make any guidelines if that rule is in there. If that person is declining coverage if they don't participate, and I feel like that's probably what you're going to see, that is, I mean, that would certainly make it mandatory. I think it should be mandatory anyway, to have HIPAA laws to guard against people's rights, in there what their results are from any of these tests. Nobody in this room will ever know anything about it.
Right.
It's helping that person have good health. It's keeping our costs down. We are paying 100% of the premium. But I think you may find that the mandatory clause is you're voided from the plan. So I would encourage my fellow commissioners not to make a motion on this until we have that one line item resolved.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Ma'am. All right.
Is it reasonable to request that an employee provide some form of documentation that they've biometrics or whatever the language is. I mean, I just had mine done, so for me to go to a health fair is pointless. You know, I have mine done regularly right now, so, that would be that's my question.
My thought on that would be, it could be part of the insurance requirement. I don't know I know we're trying to help employees, we're also trying to help the bottom line for the county's cost on insurance, which everybody knows is a large expense.
I won't be here on the 12th.
Well,
I
Norm-
can give you a piece of paper that says,
well,
we got this.
Normally, in my case, when I reached a certain magnitude in my job status at IP and age, we were required every year to go take a physical. Now, it wasn't necessarily mandatory, but we were encouraged to that. So there are a lot of people that do have annual physicals even now, but that are covered under their insurance programs. I don't know whether this one does or not. That in itself becomes suffice for this particular thing, I would think, if that is being done. And I'm like Jack, I want to think about this a little bit before I see something that says
when is the
mandatory.
scheduled time you need to know this by?
Well, we've already got it set up. We have to have half of the participants show up in order for there to be no cost.
Either everybody half show up or we end up paying for the cost of the health fair.
Exactly.
Well, we can
So,
wait until the evening meeting in
Can-
March.
Yeah, I mean, to me, even if and we all know that I spend a lot of time at the doctor's office, and I don't
Right.
feel like I need to come somewhere and have a physical, but I would not have any problem coming in here. I know everything is fine, and I know where I stand, so in order, if I need to be here and a mandatory participant, I would have no problem with that.
It's-
and
it's
just come
very
in and do
short
what
of a
I need to
physical.
do.
Can we ask all of the
Exactly.
department heads to take and just survey the employees and find out how many we would have that will participate? And if we have 50%, let's just go.
We can make a final decision on this on the evening meeting in March.
Mr. Chairman, I see a hand from a department head out there, Ms. McGinnis.
Oh, there she is. Go ahead.
One thing that I mentioned to my employees, and this is just something that kind of maybe helps you establish your point as this being mandatory, but something that I mentioned to my employees is we all know health insurance is just going up and up and up. And the more we as an employee can do in participation with things of this nature allows the county to keep the costs down, which also allows you as a board to hopefully keep funding our insurance at 100% versus some of that percentage coming back to us. I mean, we're very fortunate. to
Very
have
good
that
point,
right
Renee.
now. And so the more we as an employee can participate in things of this nature to keep the costs down, hopefully the less it is out of our pocket. So to me, this ain't the time, that's a very good incentive. If I've got an employer that's willing to pay 100% of my health insurance, it's a good incentive for me to do what I can to keep that relationship.
All right, we'll make the final decision in March on this. Toby, notify the department heads. Thank you.
All
Sandy,
right.
you have
Thank
anything
you.
else?
Nope, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
Next one here, Renee, you're up at the podium.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have a list, and I've added a few things to my list, but first of all, we'll start out with the collector's report, which you all have a copy of. Nothing out of the ordinary to point out with that. You will notice our collection percentage is getting a little closer to where we have been in the past. We still are about 0.25% ahead of where we were last February this time. One thing I will call your attention to is down at the bottom, the debt set-off payments. This month, or in February, we received a little over $11,000 through debt set-off. That is through the state income tax refunds, and so now that that season is upon us, we will be receiving more funds from them. Are there any questions on the report that you have?
That check comes directly to you from the taxes?
No, it actually goes into our account. It's an electronic, and we receive, reports of what has been paid.
Okay.
If there are no questions in reference to that, we do have some refunds.
Well, hold on a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Would it be possible on the collector's report where we have February, January, and change? Mm-hmm. And what the change shows is how much taxes has been collected between January and February.
That is strictly the levy. It does not include any interest, but just strictly
Right,
the levy.
right. Could you add a small column in there to show the percent change? I noticed on the last one, there's no change. There's a small change, but it would help a little bit to know what the percentage, each one of these years that are delinquent, we're seeing a 5% change per month, 10%. I know the ones at the top, you're getting a greater change than the ones at the bottom.
So you want to see the percent collected?
The percent change
He's talking about between the 2 months there.
between the 2 months.
Figure out what percentage the collection, the amount is in a percentage.
You'd be able to look at each one and say, I'm changing from what was owed, 1% or 2%.
Okay.
It gives us some idea of what the collection rate is or the change rate is.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, the next thing we do have 3 refunds. And all 3 of these refunds are basically the same situation. They are where the taxpayer actually came in and paid the tax before we received the payment through the debt set-off program. So these are basically just overpayments where we need to refund this money to them. They do not owe any delinquent taxes. There are no other taxes owing, so we just need to refund the money.
I make a motion that we accept these refunds per se, refunded back to the taxpayer that has made the overpayment.
All right, we've got a motion to refund. Do we have a second?
Second?
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay.
Thank you. The next thing we have is we do have some bids for 2 of the foreclosure properties that the county has in their possession, and I laid a couple of new bids on on the table this morning for you. Both of those, however, are lesser than the top bid that we had received for the property. I believe one of the bids that I laid down was for the property on Tuggy-Your Road, and if you want to start with that one, you have, I believe in all, we've actually had 4 bids for it. The highest bid right now is $8,000, and I just need to know if you want to accept that bid or not.
Does this go into another 10-day upset period?
What will happen at this point, we will, of course, I'll notify by letter the one that has put in this high bid and also the others that have bidded. But we do have to publish that this bid has come in and been accepted, and it will be open for 10 days. And I do need a clarification from the board as to how you want to publish this. Your statutes strictly use the word publish. It does not state how or in what manner it needs to be published. So I do need some clarification from the board as to how you want that to happen.
So we could put it on the internet website for the county.
That would, and I would have no problem also in posting it in our building and also asking the clerk to post it at the courthouse.
Which would be a savings to us.
Yes.
Renee, you said you had 4 for Tuggy, or I only see 3. Am I missing one?
I think there's a new one on the
I
table.
got the 4,500, the 5,000, and 8,000.
Okay, it is just 3. I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I wasn't missing one.
No, it is just 3.
Are we just
I
talking about-
had so many come in at the last minute, all of a sudden I was getting a little confused with these.
So we're just talking about this one piece of property now.
The Tuggy-Your, we'll start with that one.
All right, gentlemen, we've got, it looks like a high bid of $8,000 on this property. Is this acceptable to the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I will recuse myself from this vote. This is TC, right?
Yes.
You'll
Since this-
ask the board, you'll have to ask the board to recuse.
I would ask the board to recuse me from the voting on this issue, as this happens to be my wife's first cousin.
Okay, the board, is there any problem with reclusing Mr. Hoare from this issue?
I'll make a motion that we recuse Commissioner Hoare from voting on this issue.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor in reclusing Mr. Hoare from this issue, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Johnny, Jack, did you speak?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right, Johnny, you are recused from this issue.
Thank you.
All right, now we have,
Before you vote, before you vote, if you would, just for clarification, what is owed on this piece of property? I don't know, I see that somewhere. I see the bid number. Can you just tell us what's owed?
What was owed on this piece of property, what our high bid was $9,833.57.
So $9,833.57 is what? Taxes, lawyer fees, all that's owed. Okay.
that's what we bid.
That's what we
in there.
paid for it, yes.
The original bid we had before, the last high bid we had was what?
We had the
4,500.
other bids, the first bid that came in was $4,500, and then we had another one coming yesterday at $5,000, and then the one that you're talking about now is $8,000.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, we have a bid of $8,000 for this property on Tuckville Road, a high bid. Are there any more discussion?
One point of discussion, you said the taxes owed, attorney's fees of 9837 something. Is this going to close the door completely on this issue transaction?
Yes.
Okay.
No 10-day upset.
There
date?
will be a
10-day
10-day,
upset, but
right.
other than that, this is a wash after we've deeded it to the new owner.
Now, once this is published, you may, I may come back before you,
Sure.
sure. With another bid.
Sure. I'm satisfied, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we've got a bid of $8,000. Do I have a motion that we accept the bid of $8,000 for this piece of property on Tuckville Road?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Okay, the next
All right.
piece of property is the piece located on US 158, just west of Roduca. And I believe you have 3 bids that have come in on that. One bid was for $700, second bid was for $2,000, and then we have a final bid for $4,110. And what we had actually paid for that piece was $3,122.27. So this bid is actually a little above what the county has in it.
Mr. Chairman, I make the same motion. I would like to be recused as this gentleman is the high bidder on this piece of property also.
Okay, we've got a request from Commissioner Hoare to be recused from this issue. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Commissioner, you are recused from this issue.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we have a high bid of 4110?
4110, yes.
All right, for this piece of property, Western Roduca, on 158 Western Roduca. Do we have a motion to accept the high bid of 4110?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right,
Okay, the next thing on the list is setting a date for our Board of Equalization and Review, which we do need to open it during the month of April, and it needs to be closed at least by the third Monday following when it's opened. Looking at the calendar, and correct me if I'm wrong, I should have asked Diane about this before this morning. The 21st of May, the third Monday in May, will y'all be having a night meeting?
March, April, yeah, we
The
will.
third. Okay, if you open the Board of E&R on April the 30th, which is the last Monday in April, last day of April, you could close it prior to your regular scheduled board meeting on May 21st.
Do any of you gentlemen have any issue with this?
Okay, we would still have to set up our schedule. I mean,
Yes.
think
And
we've-
basically, what I would need to know right now is what time you would like appointments to start on April the 30th.
What did we do last year?
At 4:30 or something, 4
I think
o'clock.
we usually started at 4 o'clock as far as the appointments were concerned. And now, last year, I did have a gentleman from Department of Revenue to come down, and we had a little workshop beforehand. I don't know if you'd like to do that this year. I think at this point, y'all are pretty seasoned with the Board of E&R, unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to think of that. But if you would like some time before the appointments, we can certainly take the handbook and review that. I mean, I can do that with you, and if you have any questions or whatnot, I can certainly try and entertain those.
At this time, do you see any large number of requests coming in for the Board of E&R yet? Or
I have
any
a
thoughts?
few that we will be contacting once today to set, nothing overly major. And really, with the economy the way it is, you know, and I know right now our values are high, even though we do have to stay with that 2009 reassessment, which we try to handle those prior, you know, when they come into the office versus they come into the Board of E&R. However, sometimes they want to see y'all, not us. But hopefully it shouldn't be too many.
All right, gentlemen, is opening the Board of E&R on April 30th okay with y'all?
I make a motion that we accept the schedule that Renee has outlined before us today.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right.
Do you
April the
want to start the appointments at 4?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Do you want to come in a little earlier to kind of review the duties of the Board of E&R prior to that, or?
I think that would work good. And because we're going to schedule appointments on the first day, right?
The first day, well, that's up to you.
You know,
I mean,
think-
you don't have to,
Why don't
but
we
in
start
in
it-
some cases, we're able to handle what comes in that first day, and
Well-
that's it.
Why don't you schedule it for 4 o'clock, and we'll have a little brief overview at 4 o'clock, and then you schedule appointments after that.
Okay, what I'll do is start the appointments at 4:30, and we
that'll be
will
fine.
actually convene at 4 o'clock.
So 30-minute crash course.
A 30-minute crash course, so come prepared. We'll not give a test at the end of the 30 minutes.
Renee,
Right.
last time when we did this, I know Johnny and I were new, you gave us some documentation.
Yeah.
Could you send us an email, just to remind us what we need to bring to that meeting?
Yes,
the
certainly,
documents?
certainly.
Okay.
That's no problem,
Thank you.
no
And
problem
it's
at all.
scheduled to end when?
The 21st.
We will close it on the 21st, which I believe your regular scheduled meeting will
The
be
21st of May.
at 7. And it may be that we can, you know, you can just open it at 6:45 and close it. We'll kind of look at that as we go along to see how many, you know, appeals we have.
Okay? All right.
Okay. Another thing I wanted to bring back up, at the last meeting, we had Mark Bardille with Zacchaeus Legal Services that presented what his office provides, and we do have a contract for that, and we kind of put off any discussion with that, and I believe it was Mr. Jordan that had asked for some figures in reference to cost, attorney cost and whatnot, that we would be looking at depending on where things ended up with the sale. And I did email that to y'all, but basically the top figure that he has put out here, and this is if it requires publication and an appointment of a guardian ad litem and whatnot, is probably around $2,100.
Per each closing.
Right, and that is if it has to go through the full course. What he is saying, in most cases where we actually filed the complaint but then is settled, you'd be looking at probably around $1,000. So it still is less than what we're doing right now. So I didn't know if y'all wanted to go ahead and entertain that and, you know, make any decisions as far as accepting that contract, and if so, you know, Toby and Pitt and myself can review the contract and see. I think there were a couple of little things in there before that we kind of highlighted that I think y'all addressed in the meeting with Mr. Bardille, actually.
The contract is basically a contract based on cost, didn't have any length of time added to it.
he gives a time frame,
4 years, we have to keep it.
right, it would be 4 years, and then I believe also he gives us a time frame in here. You'll have to excuse me, Jack, it's been since last month that I've really reviewed this, that the foreclosures are brought to conclusion within 2 years after the filing date, and that basically depends on where things have to go with it as far as advertising, contacting owners, and that sort of thing. But the contract would be for a term of 4 years, and the reason he puts it at 4 years is basically due to the cost of what the staff that he has and whatnot, and from the time frame that we turn over foreclosures to him and working those to fruition, he feels like with the staff cost and whatnot, that's the time frame that he needs to make it worth his while. And with him, what he wants to see from us is, I mean, he's delighted with us turning over 7,500, 150 at a time. It's not a matter of just turning over a few at the time, which I think would enable us to kind of clean things up more so than what we've been able to do in the past, where we can actually get things to the point that we have a pretty clear record, except for those that owe, 2 years.
Any other questions? Or?
I just would like to make a comment that, if we move forward on the contract, I would like to see us stay where we are in regards to the number of years before foreclosure.
Right.
Currently, we're at 2 years, and I think it might have been his recommendation that we look at 1. I think we need to think about that quite a while before we implement 1 year.
Well, I think we still have some cleanup work to do that'll keep him busy enough before we reach that point.
Well, and like I was telling you last time and talked to you yesterday, when you look at this, really, we get down to like 0.3 and 0.4%. We eventually get the money, typically. So I'm sort of like Mr. Jordan. I think we need to have pressure out there, but we don't need to be rushing too quickly.
Right.
That we're out here paying fees to get something done. However, there is some positive results to that too, that you may turn it over to someone that is paying the taxes promptly.
Right.
So there's two sides of the story there, but we typically do eventually receive the money on real estate property. It's these personal property automobiles that are a major problem.
What is the board's?
Well, if we become dissatisfied with the services, I'm just leaning on the 4-year thing, is this an exclusive contract? If we become, let's say we become dissatisfied with his services, we could just stop sending him. The contract's still out there for 4 years, but we could find another party. Is that?
Not,
I'm
I
not,
think we could go find another
I'm not sure
party.
that's,
So it's an exclusive contract?
I'm not sure that's totally correct to say that we could just stop sending them stuff. And I'll be honest, I wasn't prepared to speak intelligent on this today because it wasn't on the agenda. But as I recollect, we are required to give him all of them.
So it is
And-
exclusive?
Because during the conversation that Renee and I and Gwen had with him, he is very concerned that we don't cherry pick the most difficult and give to him.
right.
I understand.
So that would lead me to believe, without having the contract in front of me, that this is, if not exclusive, virtually exclusive.
I didn't look for, when I looked at it, I didn't look for any performance. I don't recall any performance standards in there that I could recall
don't.
right now, but
You didn't receive a packet,
I saw the emails.
the emails, but not an actual packet. What we can do, if you would like, if you want, because I know Jack wasn't at the last meeting to really hear this. What we can do, if you'd like, is put this off till the night meeting, because you will have a night meeting this month. And we can kind of get, Jack up to speed with this situation. And, I can certainly, any questions that you may have at this point, address with Mark.
I think
Do-
that's probably the best way to go, Renee.
Okay.
I'm ready to move on it with the 2 years, stay with the 2 years. My personal, the contract, I'm
Right.
satisfied with it. But we want to make sure that all the commissioners are okay with it before we make this decision.
Right, so I think if we do that, and Jack, if you just want to give me a call at your convenience,
I will.
and I've got a packet here that I'll be glad to leave with Diane for you after the meeting, because it does have some graphs and whatnot as to, what he has done in other counties and that sort of thing. And
And
if
I-
you
and I-
have any questions, I'm sure Mark won't mind talking with you
I saw
personally.
all of the examples he had of this is what the fees would be if it was this
Right.
situation, and I was okay with that. But I don't recall the 4 years. That's a long time.
Well, this is all he does, is work with this type of work. He's not, this is his business, is working with counties and foreclosures, and he does have a very good staff in place. And there are times, like with the more difficult ones, you don't know just how far you're going to have to go, to get the point of collecting those funds or even getting it to the courthouse steps. And he does understand that we do have quite a few foreclosures still with Travis Ellis, and he does understand that those foreclosures will stay in place. That's not an issue. So, but we'll just talk about this if you want to give me a call, and I'll address your concerns and anything that I need answers from him, and then we'll just bring it back at the night meeting.
We'll be prepared to make a decision on the evening meeting.
That's fine. I have one other thing before I want to get to the surplus equipment. I just need an opinion. This year with the real estate abstracts, because we were so late getting our forms in, we actually did not send listing abstracts for real property only, which real property by statute is permanently listed by the county, and the responsibility that the taxpayer has with that is just letting us know if there's any change, if they have added something new or taken away. And the reason I'm bringing this up right now is we're in the process of preparing our upcoming budgets, and needless to say, not sending those real property abstracts does make a difference in the cost as far as postage and so forth. And so I'm looking at what I'm looking at for this upcoming year's budget, and I just need an opinion from you as a board. If you have any issues with us not sending abstracts for the real property only, or if you do not. So I will kind of know how I need to proceed with my budget. And I'd also like to look in, which we looked into this a little bit last year and didn't do anything because of cost, at least outsourcing our listing abstracts. And the reason for that, to outsource, that abstract would actually be printed on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And I don't know if any of you as a board actually received a listing abstract this year. I'm sure some of the public did, but some of these abstracts, because of the carbon, were literally not legible. In fact, there's no doubt in my mind we had some people sign them and send them back that really didn't know what they were signing because you could not read them. And because of that, I'd really like to look at outsourcing them this upcoming year. And if we do not send the real property abstracts, I think that would kind of help in absorbing the cost of the outsourcing. But I just need your views as a board, because if you want those real property abstracts to go out, I'm going to need to consider that in my upcoming budget.
You're going to need to consider outsourcing it.
Well, I already have prices on the outsourcing, and the biggest thing that adds to the expense of outsourcing is mainly the postage, because as it is now, we can print more than, one property on an abstract. When you go to outsourcing, it's one property per 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper is what adds to that cost.
I did get a call because Citizen didn't get their abstract, and they really felt that they needed it.
I know some people were really not happy because they didn't get an abstract, and then others just don't send them in. But I just need your direction.
I think one of the benefits is that when the abstract goes out, if there's been any modifications or additions to the property or whatever, you're supposed to make that change on the abstract.
Right.
So, when if we consistently don't send them out, there's a potential that the updates, although the citizens is still responsible for reporting it,
Right.
it wouldn't get caught until reevaluation if,
If it's caught then.
right. And so I think there's some advantages to sending it out, as well as advantages
To
of
not sending it.
out.
How about if we did outsource it, would there be any savings in time management in your office?
Oh, it would be from just simply not having to print them, because it's a 2 or 3 day process now it's about a full day in printing them. Actually, if we print all of them, it's pretty much a full day, and then you've got to tear them apart and sort them and that sort of thing to prepare them for the mail.
That could be a consideration to make up for the additional postage.
Right.
I think people need to get the abstracts.
Of the same opinion. I don't, a lot of times I don't send it back, but I like to look at it if I can read it, but I like to have one I can read.
And
Well,
they
good,
have
no,
been
at least
blurred.
people look at them.
And they have been blurred more than one time.
Yeah. But it's the carbon and everything in there. Some of them this year were just totally, some were fine, others were just totally not legible at all. So-
Have you got enough input from us on this yet?
What I can do is I can give prices in, both directions. I just need y'all to keep that in mind when you sit
Okay.
down with the budget.
I think that's the best way to do this.
So, okay. Last but not least, you do have a surplus property report, which I have somewhere. And this is just basically asking, it's miscellaneous office equipment. We had a couple of computer towers and several just desktop printers that basically no longer are in operation. The towers, the hard drives have been removed from those, and we just want to dispose of them so we can have the space.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion to allow her to dispose of these 2 computers surplus?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Renee. All right, next on our agenda, Ms. Lulu Ure. Stand up, Lulu.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On December the 1st, it became a law and Bill, I think 640, that you could carry guns on parks, land, and parks and recreation facilities. And I kind of have a problem with that.
I can understand that.
With it, when you get to kids' games, parents get a little out of hand, and I certainly don't need guns being carried on our property. There is an amendment in that law that county governments can prohibit that. I have talked with Toby, and I've also talked with our superintendent. Because of our situation with our lands joining, they already have a policy about banning, guns except for, police officers and ones that are required, as well as any special event, like I guess the shooting team. And they have talked about, and I think Toby has said he would like to bring it up, that in the policy they have just to add on school facilities and community center, just to cover it. But, I don't feel very comfortable. I can't tell them they can't bring them. Right now, if they come with a gun and they have a concealed weapon permit, I can't stop them. So I'm
Actually,
just
you
kind
can't
of
stop
want
them if they just have one on the hip.
right. So,
And also, you don't know who they are.
right. And I don't know that I'd feel comfortable if I saw a guy walking with a gun in a holster on his side going, who are you? You know, why do you have a gun? So I just would like something in the near future, especially before our baseball, softball season gets started.
Toby, what's your recommendation?
Well, before this new law, if an entity posted a no concealed or otherwise placard, then they could prohibit it. However, the way this new law is written, the entity has to be proactive to exclude weapons from being on their premises, in this case, the community center. My recommendation is that the school already has a policy in place. I think we can simply piggyback with them to say on school property to include the Gates County Community Center. And then we would have a policy in place, which is what the statute requires, and then Lulu can therefore exclude them.
Now, and what policy would that be? In the school's policy?
Yeah,
or
I
our
have a
policy?
copy, no, I have a copy of the school's policy that weapons and explosives are prohibited. And the only part that's germane to this conversation is where it identifies school properties. And it says, for purposes of this policy, school properties, any school building, bus, school campus, grounds, recreation area, athletic field, or other property owned or used or operated by the Board of Education. That's what it says today. I would recommend you insert the sentence, additionally, the Gates County Community Center is subject to the policy, subject to this in policy in its entirety.
Is that put out by the Board of Education? Or
Yes, we couldn't modify it. What we could do, in my opinion, is recommend to the Board of Education that they amend their policy to include that sentence and endorse that.
Or request it, because we'd have to authorize it. In other words,
Right, because it's our property. We need to give them the authority to legislate on our property.
Do we need to go a step further and adopt a policy, a county policy?
No, because the new law change only affects parks and rec facilities.
Okay, all right. And Toby, did you say anything about placards? I think you did, about signs being up?
I did not, but I do think we are going to need to put,
Right.
Didn't we
Sign.
discuss this a meeting or two back at some point in time about putting signs up? My mind wants to say that, but
Not that I recollect.
not that I
this has come up
recollect
somewhere
either.
in the line, and I don't, it may have been in an office conversation. Pitt, you got any input on this by any chance, being our attorney? Make sure that we're, as far as,
The simplest way, I think, as Toby explained, is to take some of the pressure off of y'all, is to just add that sentence, let the school board amend their policy, and then adopt it yourself, allowing them to make this change to the property and include the community center.
it is adopted in our minutes, that policy change.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't see any problem doing it that way.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion that we adopt the language that was so stated by our county manager and allow the school board to modify their policy, and we accept their amended policy to include the community center.
and we'll supply the placards.
Yes.
All right, we've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. You take care of getting the signs and all taken care of? Or
Yeah,
have-
Lulu and I will work together on figuring out if there are any signs that are actually mandated, and if they are, what they need to look like, and get them up.
Okay.
We'll take care of it.
Okay.
All right, next on our agenda, Ms. Colleen Turner, our DSS Director. At this point in time, anyway.
For a little while longer. Good morning.
Morning.
I was asked by the board to give an update, by the Social Services Board, to give an update to you all on two items today, one being the recruitment of a new DSS director, and the other being the Housing Committee. I'll begin with DSS director recruitment. I am pleased to inform you that we had 11 total applications for the position. We were one shy of the mark, but we decided to work with those 11 because in that pack there were 6 qualified applicants and 3 extremely qualified applicants. And those 3 extremely qualified applicants, or highly qualified applicants, will be interviewed next week. I am confident, and after having some conversations with each of those candidates, that the board will find their candidate in those three interviews. I'm hopeful. My personal goal, and the board is aware of this, is that we shoot for a start date of April the 16th. Depending on which candidate is selected and their skills and knowledge with local North Carolina Department of Social Services, that I would stay on no less than 2 weeks, no more than 30 days. The state does allow a 30-day overlap in employment of two people in the same position. And if the desire was to have me involved after that fact at budget workshops, the budget hearing, work with them on the administrative reimbursement report, that kind of thing. I know that finance officer has requested that I be involved in as many administrative reimbursement reports as possible before I go. But I think, the board has been diligent in staying on track with their timeframes, and I think we are on a good schedule and a good track to get this done in a timely manner with ample transition. Would you add anything to that, gentlemen?
Totally agree.
Yes,
Gosh,
completely.
So,
that's pretty simple, Colleen.
yeah, it's going really well.
This is a fast track, barring there's no issues with the candidates.
Right.
So,
And if there is an issue and we have to move forward, we have time to do that. We have time to do that, so we're not in any bind. Any other questions about that?
I was just thinking, has there ever been any rule about this party, this position having to reside in the county? Just curious.
Locally, no. Statewide, I mean, we have directors that live in Virginia and work in local departments, border counties, for example. Lots of directors across the state live within proximity. I will tell you that two of the candidates would have to move. It's too far, and desire to move here. One is a relatively nearby neighbor and would likely choose to remain in that setting. So, but we did give that a lot of thought. We did indicate in the job recruitment that candidates willing to relocate to the county were preferred. So, yeah.
Just curious.
We all agree that the investment is stronger when the director lives in the county, and two of the three candidates volunteered their thoughts on that and would agree that the local presence is important for to be connected to the faith community, to be seen at the Dollar General, at the library, at the doctor's office, those kinds of things. So,
That question will be asked, Jack, I
Yeah.
will assure you.
yeah.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for serving on that committee as well as your help.
I think it's going well. The other update is on the Housing Committee. Lots and lots of activity going on in that arena. All good. We have started applying the CDBG grant, the capacity building grant, to the work that we are doing. The county and the Housing Committee have contracted together, and the committee has contracted with a housing coordinator who has begun the work of executing the activities in the grant, including a windshield assessment of all properties in the county that are listed as fair poor and very poor, those that are listed through the tax department. Those that are listed as poor and very poor will get a little bit more thorough look, and those who receive the more thorough investigation may be asked to participate in a full inspection and consider completing an application for consideration for assistance through whatever means are available to the committee. So I would encourage citizens. Chris Couch has been our housing coordinator for a long time, and he is now on contract as a housing coordinator. He drives a red minivan, and he will have a badge, but he will be canvassing every road in Gates County over the course of the next 12 months and examining every home on that list as fair poor or very poor, and will be knocking on doors. So if you see him in your neighborhood, know that that is his purpose. Know that the greater goal is to identify the areas within the county that, especially for our vulnerable residents, that are in need of our attention as a community, and to help guide the Board of County Commissioners on future economic development endeavors to address, or grant applications to address, those issues that are identified as a result of the assessment. So just want to make the community aware of that that is about to begin, or has begun, actually, and will take time, but will be a very thorough evaluation of the county and its housing inventory and the condition of such. I would also indicate that mid-month, last month, the Housing Committee received its designation from North Carolina Nonprofits as a nonprofit agency. Our application with the IRS for a 501c3 nonprofit organization is pending, and we have applied for a $75,000 grant through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency for urgent repair program, which will, if received, will afford us the opportunity to spend up to $6,000 on an individual home to make urgent repairs. It will afford us the opportunity to hire local contractors to do some of that work. It will allow us to utilize volunteer labor to expand those dollars and their availability. We have committed to a minimum of 12 repairs over the course of the next 3 years, and we anxiously await the outcome of that application. Actually, the application was submitted by the county on behalf of the Housing Committee, as we don't have our designation yet. So we'll keep you posted on that, and we'll be recruiting participants if and when we get it. We've also participated in the identification of recipients for the CDBG community scattered site grant that you'll be hearing more about later this morning. And we're glad to be able to participate in that activity, and hopefully those that we've referred will get the green light and we can move forward in assisting those individuals. We will be calling for volunteers throughout the course of the next several months. Chris will be working to strengthen that pool of volunteers to go out and assist the homes of elderly, adults with disabilities, low-income families with small children, our most vulnerable that don't qualify for other programs, so that we can continue to make the repairs in those homes that have already been identified and those that may be identified in the future. And once we've applied for the 501c3 nonprofit status, any donation that is made directly to the Housing Committee is tax deductible. If for some reason the committee down the road does not receive its designation, any donor may have to go back and modify their tax return, but we are looking forward to the ability to receive tax deductible private donations to further the work of the Housing Committee. We have a strong executive committee, but we will be looking for additional members for that board effective July 1st.
Colleen, I'd like to thank you for what you've been doing here. I wish you well in your new endeavor.
Thank you.
Then you're going to the Sunshine
I
State.
am. It's 85 and sunny there today. It was very difficult to come back.
We do thank you for what you've done in Gates County.
Thank you, and thanks for your support and letting me work it this way. So,
Fantastic. Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, gentlemen, let's take a break.
Break.
Y'all ready? All right, we'll get back to get on this again. Our next on our agenda will be Billy Wynn, Emergency Management Director. Billy?
Gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity. In your packet, there are 2 applications for grants that I request you to review and approval for those 2. The first being the Hazardous Materials Emergency Planning Grant. That is for I don't have the grant in front of me, it's $5,700. It is for training for our emergency responders for decontamination of patients in a hazardous materials event. This money is provided from the North Carolina Emergency North Carolina Emergency Management, the Hazardous Materials Branch, they have these training grants that go out annually. We've never applied for that, and this is our first attempt. We received the grant, and if you approve it, then we can start letting those contracts.
This is the Hazardous Material Emergency Planning Grant.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Is there any county input on that?
Monetarily, no, sir. The way these work, both of these grants actually, we receive an invoice, we turn the invoice into Raleigh, Raleigh pays us, and then we can pay the invoice. So there's actually no turnover of county money.
Okay. You want to go ahead and go over both of them while you're here?
Yes, sir, we can.
I'll make a motion that we accept the two grants that have been presented to us by EMS.
You want, fill us in on the second one first before we get that far.
Okay, the second one is the Albemarle Regional Hazard Mitigation Grant. That is done by the Hazard Mitigation Branch of North Carolina Emergency Management. It is, every 5 years, each county is required, actually it's each municipality, so the town of Gatesville and Gates County have to present a hazard mitigation plan. The last one was just done in 2010. All the areas in northeastern North Carolina are due at the same time. This is a regional push to subsidize those expenses. So instead of each county paying roughly $30,000 to $40,000 individually to have a hazard mitigation plan done, this is a regional grant for $70,000 to pay for 8 counties. So again, it would be no cost to us. It would be significant time savings to me because we did not contract our hazard mitigation grant last year, our hazard mitigation plan, and I did it all in-house, and it was a significant time expense.
So this will take care of paying somebody to do that.
That is
plan.
correct.
Okay. Any questions? We'll go back to Johnny's motion.
Just one correction we need to make.
Yes, sir.
I believe you have Vice Chairman as Kenny Jernigan.
Okay, that it may be a typo in there. I'll be glad to take care of that.
Yeah, just make that modification.
Okay.
Toby?
I've wholeheartedly supported this and think it needs to be approved. I just have more of a technical issue. Whenever, if you do choose to approve the second one, it comes with a resolution, and then it also has other things that have to be signed. So if you just make sure the motion includes the resolution and any attachments that require signatures for both.
Okay, John, you want to modify
I'll
your...
make the motion that we accept both of these grants as it's presented and with any required documentation to support that, the conclusion and successful outcome of the grant.
Second.
Oh, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Hi,
Thank you,
Billy.
gentlemen.
Thank you for what you do too, Billy.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, next on our agenda, Morgan, our planner.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Morgan.
All right, first thing, we are back with our landscaping ordinance. You have copies in your packet. Everything is the same except for the bond issue, which we discussed in depth. It would be section 11.09 in the proposed document. Some of you were at our last planning board meeting where we engaged in discussion about this. What we decided to change was just an extension shall not exceed 60 days from the time that the landscaping should be completed. In addition, the developer shall obtain a bond in the amount of 125% of the total cost of landscaping or deposit into an escrow account in the favor of Gates County the amount equal to the total cost of landscaping. Once the project is completed, the escrow fund shall be returned to the depositor. If the project is not completed, the county shall utilize the escrow funds to complete the project as designed. And we did make a couple of changes with the types of plants, just a couple of minute changes, species and whatnot.
Any input from the commissioners?
This is an ordinance. Have we gone through public hearing and all that yet?
We have done one public hearing the first time when I did the PowerPoint presentation. If you would like to accept this document today, we do need to have a public hearing for it.
Before, before or after?
Before you choose to accept the document, we do need to go into public hearing.
We'll have
Is
to
this advertised
advertise
as a
that.
public hearing?
It's already been advertised.
Oh, okay. All right, so we need to go into public hearing now.
Yes, sir. And likewise for the signage ordinance, that too has been advertised as well.
Well, it is a public hearing, okay.
Do we entertain debate among us before we go into the public hearing, or? mean,
I
don't
would
have
like to
anything
get
specific.
input from the citizens first, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
All right, we'll need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Have a second? Motion is second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we're now in the public hearing to discuss the proposed landscaping and ordinance for Gates County. Are there any public comments on this ordinance? We will entertain them now. Not everybody speak at once. If there's no comments, I'll entertain a motion that we go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we've had a public hearing, which, not much hearing going on, but we did have it. Are there any comments from the commissioners now?
Well, I think, based on my memory, and that the planning board has met all of the language requirements that we have injected into the discussion the other day, and so I think it's very well documented as presented.
Jack, you got any input?
Not at this time.
Henry?
Well, as I've said before, this is another ordinance. I understand the intent, and it is to try to assure that we have consistency in landscaping among new businesses and whatever. I do have some concerns that, as we implement ordinances, we're implementing a new law, we're implementing a new requirement, and when we do that, we look at enforcement. There's a lot of requirements in this landscaping ordinance. There's a lot of requirements that are detailed, that are specific. And, when we put a law out there, if I'm going to cite one person as being in violation and someone else I don't cite, then I'm not being consistent, I'm not being fair. And I just have a little bit of a concern that we're putting in lawful requirements where we are not in a position to consistently enforce and monitor. And that's my concern. You have modified the language and made it more in line of what we were looking for. I think I'd like to see us talk about this ordinance a little longer before we put it into law. That's just my personal preference.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, Jack?
I was at the last meeting just the other day when the planning board addressed this ordinance. I am with Henry on enforcement being across the board and applied equally to every situation. I do know that it's important that we come to some agreement and some resolution on this, because we are moving forward in trying to develop the county commercially, and so we don't need to take much longer to come to some conclusion. I do think I would like to not make a decision on it today. I'm not asking the planning board to go back and do anything any different. I just think that maybe at the night meeting I might feel a little closer to making a vote on it, or even making a recommendation. But at this point, the document that I see, I'm not asking the planning board to go back and make any modifications. I just want to study it a little bit deeper. And I do believe, if there are any board members here, I see some, I do believe that this will be a document that we will, an ordinance that we will probably change as we grow and as we see the county changing and new things come before us. This will be a document that we'll be changing anyway, is the way I see it. So I will certainly be prepared to, even though I was at the meeting, I think I want to give it a little bit more time. That's just my opinion.
Okay. I'm prepared to go with it forward now. I may be thinking about it a little bit more. It's been a hot issue with the planning board. I was in that same meeting at the same time. We discussed this. I like the wording. I have concerns like Henry does about more ordinances, and the way it affects a rural area. I would like to consider some certain areas that we're trying to happen in Gates County and think about it a little bit more. So I think maybe if it's the board's pleasure, we can mull on this for another 2 weeks and discuss it one more time in the evening meeting and make a decision at that time. Is that fine with the board?
I think
Yes.
Morgan.
I feel likewise, obviously, but there again, we have empowered the planning board to do these things. They are charged with that responsibility. I don't like putting certain requirements on people, and however, we do need rules. I think this is an ongoing process, but sometime we do have to come to a decision. Now, if it's 2 weeks from now, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but there again, we as commissioners have empowered the planning board. That's their duty and their responsibility, and I think they've made a very good faith effort at doing this several times, getting the language changed to what we do. So, hey, at some time we had to move. And whether that's today or 2 weeks, it doesn't make any difference, but let's do something.
All right, we'll make a move on this. The planning board
Chairman.
members that are here.
Mr. Chairman, recognize
Morgan?
the planning
Sorry, just a comment, maybe it will alleviate some of your concerns about the enforcement. In my opinion, this will be very easy to enforce because, for example, this does not apply to existing businesses. So we're not going to go and cherry pick and say this one is in violation, this one's in violation. It's only going to be for new ones. And the way that this gets regulated is when Family Dollar, for example, will submit their plans. They're going to submit a landscaping plan along with it, and I will approve it right when they get their building permit. So it'll be pretty easy to regulate. When they go to get their final certificate of occupancy, that's when we'll evaluate, yes, you did complete it as designed, or you did not. So maybe that will alleviate some of your concerns.
Toby?
I agree with what Morgan said to a point, but to say that it does not apply to existing buildings is true into part as they sit today. But it does have a clause in it to where if they expand above 30% of the gross square footage,
Correct.
then it would apply.
Correct.
To me, that could have a chilling effect on an Ashton Lewis or a Gates Lumber or a business that needs to expand and decides in their business plan that they're ready to expand. If they trip this 30% mechanism, now they have to incur the cost of doing landscaping, which they didn't have to do before. So I think to say that it would never apply to an existing business, it wouldn't be factual.
Well, let's hold this to the night meeting, and we'll come in here ready to make a decision on this.
Okay.
We'll put it to a vote.
All right. Signage ordinance, may we move on to that as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this one, I do need a public hearing.
Okay.
And I'm just going to scoot up there so I can...
Yeah, let's go ahead and get set up whatever you need to do.
Does your presentation need to be part of the hearing?
We'll do the hearing after the presentation.
Everybody hear me okay? All right. The proposed signage ordinance, I adapted this from Chowan County's ordinance. We made a couple of adjustments, as you're aware. Some of you were at the planning board meeting. This is just a quick run through what the purpose is so that we can limit the visual distraction to motorists and preserve the land values of the area. The new Merchants Commerce Center on 158 is a very high traffic route. I don't think it would be in the best interest of Gates County to allow blinking, flashing, moving signs that will distract people. Plus, it's very close to a school, so consider the safety issues. It gives clear definitions of every single kind of sign you could possibly imagine, from billboards to animated, wall signs. It gives the definitions of sign area and height. This is just an example of a billboard. Some will have restrictions that are imposed by NCDOT with certain parameters. This is an example of an animated sign. I think I've seen a lot of these in Virginia, the ones that kind of rotate every couple of seconds. That's one that flashes, revolves, rotates. I'm sure you've seen banners before. Those are very common, parades and whatnot. Building markers, historic markers and canopy signs. Marquees, like when you go to the movie theater, they have a marquee out front. Those are not considered canopy signs. Changeable copy sign, commercial messages, those are common. I'm sure you've seen some of those already in the county. Construction signs, common thing. Electronically controlled message signs. And we have a long list of ones that are exempt. Any sign that's less than 6 square foot in area, government signs, traffic signs, warning, mailboxes, so on and so forth, religious symbols, real estate signs, works of art, your Christmas lights, decorations. There are some that are going to be prohibited, and those are the ones that are distracting to motorists. Ones that move, flash, have optical illusions, but simple things like a barber pole will not be controlled by this. Roof signs. I don't think we'll be seeing any of those, but those are exempt as well. These are just some visual examples that I was asked to include of prohibited signs. Ones that have flashing colors, ones that might move with little hamburgers that flip, a roof sign, and another one there. But these are just examples, they're not exhaustive. And just so you know, campaign and event signs are going to be exempt because they're less than the 6 square feet.
You want to tell us, and I'm not in disagreement, but can you tell me anything specific about that sign and why it's prohibited?
I think that one would be, it would be prohibited in certain locations. That would be considered like a changeable copy sign. I'll flip over in a couple of slides and it'll show you which ones are and are not prohibited. Depends on the zoning district. Again, they'll be allowed to be placed within certain zoning districts. And I know that's tiny for you to see, but it's a very large table. And I would probably consider that one to be a changeable copy sign, which would be allowed in like the O&I district, A1, C1, but not in the residential area. That's why. Non-conforming signs, grandfathered in, and try to give you a very quick run through on that.
The one with the tree marking with the bike on it.
Yes, sir.
Guess a lot of paint on the tree, is that
No, it's not. That, a posted sign now has the purple marking on it like that.
Mm-hmm.
As well as line markers. So I don't know, just, beside the road, we do have line markers.
Yeah, and those are fine. I think it would be like somebody like taking Eat at Joe's and writing it on a big, humongous tree. I don't think we're going to come across that, or them painting it on a rock.
I didn't have a problem with the bike, but you had the little square box down there. That is a line marker.
Oh.
That's a survey marker.
Got it. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with what you're talking about at the top. The bottom, though.
Survey marker, yes.
Well, that's prohibited anyway, Johnny.
Yeah.
We're not going to hurt the surveyors with their marks. That's no problem. And just so you know, the no trespassing signs, no hunting signs, et cetera, those are exempt as well. So no worries on those, okay?
Was this ordinance here is based on what you've just presented, is that right? All right, I reckon the next thing, line of business is we need to, go into a public hearing and get any public comment on the signage ordinance. Do we have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we're in public hearing to take any comments from any citizens about the proposed sign ordinance at this time. If there are any comments, I would ask them to, Dan, you're standing up, I'm sure you got something to say.
Yes, I have, and the reason, first of all, my name is Dan Bazemore from Ewell. Wasn't really planning on speaking, but being that it does pertain to me, I feel as though I should.
Well, that's exactly right.
Some years ago, when I got some land surveyed out, I was told then by the county that I had to name the neighborhood because of the acreage and because of the deed concepts of the amount of lots that was being surveyed out of the acreage. Now, does this mean that the sign that they told me to put up and been there for, I reckon, 12 or 15 years has got to be changed? Because what it is, it's recorded as being named Casper's Woods. And the sign is put up in accordance with the way they told me to put it up. The size of the lettering is in accordance with what they told me. And it is offset from the state right-of-way, because it's at an intersection, right down the corner close to where I live at. You probably saw it when you drive down the road. And so does that mean that I might have what's going on here, even though you people told me to do it?
Dan, well, we people didn't, but
Well,
at this point in time,
the people before you.
we're discussing the sign ordinance, and it's it's just, I think, a starting point here. Morgan, would you address his concerns just at this?
It'll be fine. You will not have to make any changes.
So that will be.
Thank you, that answers my
A
question.
grandfather issue, is that right, Morgan? For signs that are existing at this point in time. But if you decide to change it, you may have, if this
I
goes into
don't plan
effect.
on changing it. Maybe my ass. Thank you.
All right, any other comments from any other citizens in the audience? No more signs? Well, we'll put up a sign. All right, if not, we'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we're out of public hearing. Anything else further, Morgan, that you need to? Are there any questions or any comments from the commissioners, and what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
move
sir.
that we accept the sign ordinance that's been presented to us today.
I'd like a little.
We've got a motion at this point. Are there any discussion before we go any further? Any more discussion?
Well, I'd just like to say that it's a good put together signage ordinance. Right back where we were.
Another ordinance?
We got another law, another ordinance. One of the things our citizens of the county has had problems with is the zoning ordinance. We've got a zoning ordinance on the books that needs modifications, that is not citizen-friendly the way I think it should be for Gates County. And we're putting two more ordinances in on top of the zoning ordinance. We haven't fixed that. And, you know, some of these things, I believe, for Gates County. Now, for Chowan County, who has a municipality, Eatington, and so forth, I can see the applicability would be of a great concern. I would almost see this as something that we could incorporate into the zoning ordinance. If we would go through the zoning ordinance, which we've talked about in the past, we could incorporate this and make it applicable to those specific areas that we're concerned about, commercial, and so forth. You know, as a small rural county, I don't see where we really should be that enthused about another ordinance, signage. I mean, that's my opinion on it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the concept and the idea and the wording, but that's the way I feel right now, and I think the citizens of this county would feel much similar to the same way. I'm not saying we don't need anything, but to give us another law, this is another law that we've got to enforce. And these ordinances are not just policies. They have the full force of the law of Gates County, of the state. The sheriff has the, if need be, we can take them to court. The sheriff could enforce it. And so we're putting another law in the books, and that's just my concern on it.
Mr. Chairman, still in
If you
discussion.
comment, let's discuss it, then we'll get back to you at your motion.
Yeah, well, I'm ready for discussion, more discussion.
Okay, all right. Did you have something, Toby?
I do, I'll defer to Jack though if he has something else
Yeah,
to say.
let me go ahead. Excuse me for jumping the gun on my motion.
Your motion's still there on the floor, you realize that?
Okay. My intent with making my motion is, and I've heard this comment here before, my intent is to close the gate before the horse gets out. Just like the landscaping ordinance, we are a growing, hopefully, we are a growing community. And I believe the opportunities for us to come back and revisit these things will happen. I feel certain they will. Because we're going to have people that want to contest them. And what I'd like to do is deal with those people who want to contest these ordinances as we grow. And doesn't mean that we have to cave in and approve everyone. You know, we'll just stand by this ordinance, or if we see an improvement, then I'd be more than happy to entertain that type thing. But I want to give you an example. If I were Nathan Pope, I would be a little upset if some of you folks know where he lives, and he's got a sign right on the edge of his driveway that is on light poles, and it is half the size of that wall back there where his driveway is. I wouldn't be a happy camper. And so that's one example. And then you come up the street just a little bit where Highway 158 business forks off, and there's a pretty good size sign right there. When that sign was put up, there was a home, which has been torn down now, but it was occupied, was right behind that sign, maybe 50 yards. So those are two examples that I have seen. And so my intent is to not let those things happen again. If somebody wants to put up a sign, they're going to have to be, within the ordinance, or come and ask for an exception and just look at that as it comes. So, anyway, that's my reasoning for wanting to move forward on this particular one.
Morgan.
Sir?
If an ordinance like this, if somebody, and let's say a sign, if somebody wanted to put a sign up that didn't apply, or did apply, but it didn't work with our ordinance, how would they apply for a variance like they would in a zoning ordinance, zoning? Would that be a variance type situation, or it would just be a no-go at all?
What we would have to do is amend the text to it. That's all we would have to do. If they could come up with something out of that ordinance, I'd be surprised, but we would just do a text amendment. That would be all.
I'm real concerned about having ordinance, like Henry ordinances that we pass and then go look in the future of changing them, because we've got a zoning ordinance a zoning ordinance that was passed with that same thought in mind to amend it as we moved along, and no amendments were ever done on it, and it got to a point where we had major problems before them amendments. We ended up having to make some amendments this year to try to solve some of the issues that were made when it was accepted several years ago without making sure it was what we needed. I'm not a big fan of ordinances again. I'm more concerned, like Henry said, I'd like to see this incorporated in our zoning ordinance in certain areas that we, if that's what we're trying to do. And the horse that Jack's talking about getting out, I'm sure, I understand that part. The ones that's already out, we can't put them back in. I think we're moving along on this pretty quick, but I don't know, the signage is an issue across the country, I think. I'm more concerned about the ones that have signs now that have to change if they decide they need to replace a sign or something. That's more concerned to me. And I fell into that issue in my store in Johan County. If I left the signs, the post-it was there with boards nailed on, I was okay. If I ever decided to put a nice sign up there, then I fell into a whole different category of everything, parking lot, landscaping, and the whole works. Just by changing a sign, you put yourself in an issue where you can cost you several thousands of dollars because you want to change the sign, because of the steps as you move away from that sign. And I was in that position. I was told by the county that if I replaced my sign, then I would have to landscape the land, put in a parking lot, and meet all the requirements of everything if I changed the sign. Now, the problem with that is that's a problem in my mind in a rural community like I live. And I'm not against sign ordinances for the new project out here. I think it's a good idea to look at it, but just to arbitrarily put a big ordinance in place to cover the whole county, I'm not real favor of that myself. Are any other comments before we make an action on Jack's motion? All right, we've got a motion on the floor to accept the sign ordinance as presented. Do I have a second? No second?
I'll second.
You'll second? All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor to accept the sign ordinance as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same like sign. 2-2.
So it does not pass.
It does or does not?
Does not.
I didn't think so. Okay. All right, moving on.
I will be willing to bring it back later at another time as vote against it. I'm not totally against it, but I'm willing to bring it back. I would like to see us more discussion on it.
And one thing that I feel committed to is looking at the zoning ordinance and trying to see where something like this may fit in. You know, we've got to do something for that zoning ordinance. And, you know, this may be the place for it. Except, you know, not using a new ordinance, but incorporating it. But anyway, that's something I'd like to take a look at as well.
But I am committed to bringing it back again.
All it would be was just an addition to the zoning ordinance. It's not going to be a whole nother document. It's going to be added into that, and I'm just going to make the adjustments accordingly to the zoning ordinance. So it's going to become a part of it.
Well, it was presented as a new ordinance, not as an amendment to the existing ordinance.
Got it.
The way I understood it, it was brought to us as a new ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, are we directing the planning board to do anything else on this, or?
Well, at this point in time, I would think that they would like to look at it again, maybe in some of the comments that were made here today. Because this, I mean, the sign orders, we talked about it a little bit in the meeting today, but not a lot of comments were made.
Well, I see this as, and I share those views too, but I don't like specifically putting requirements upon people, but there again, my focus is on industrial aspects. And many of you know I do not share the enthusiasm that most of the people behind this table does about out in front of the high school. Not at all. In order for Gates County to grow, we must become an industrialized. That is where the growth comes from, and subsequently supported by retail businesses. And then you get into a different issue with retail businesses. This becomes more applicable. But believe me, the type of people that we need in Gates County to make us prosperous and to grow, this means absolutely hardly anything to them. And I'll give you, for instance, we're going to be talking about a company right here in just a few minutes. Eastern Pride Incorporated or Family Dollar. Well, this morning, their capitalization was $6.5 billion. Do you think little things like this prevent them from doing things? International paper, $15 million capitalization. These are people that bring jobs, bring money. They bring people to this county. Because when you get those kind of things, people want to move to their county. We don't want to be the bedroom community. We want upscaled things in this county. You want talented people moving in with jobs. And we're at an extreme disadvantage here in Gates County, extreme disadvantage. And we must develop a committee or something to proactively attract these kind of people here. If we don't, we're not going to be successful. There's absolutely no way. The numbers just don't fly. I've run the numbers that Toby and the engineer have given me too many times.
We're not
Negative
talking
return.
about that issue now, Johnny. We're on the signage issue. That's been voted down. Let's move forward.
You mind if I just make one little short comment?
Dan, yeah, I would. Go ahead. Be glad to let you make your comment.
Over there where I was at, in the plant that I was at, and the area that I was in, they had a sign. And what we had to do was have draftsmen draw up a sign with specifications, the lettering, and so to include the landscaping around the sign. It was a business sign, and quite a large sign. And then we applied to the correct procedures. It cost us no funds, it was just a procedure that we had to follow. The funds it cost us, of course, was for us to put it up. But it was very simple. You go there, they tell you, you look, this is what you got to do, give you a little sheet of paper, this is what you got to do to meet it for the business side. All right, so we drafted it up, carried it back, had them sign off on it, agree on it, and we put it in the subject. Very simple. I think a system like that works well, and it keeps harmony between the people in the community also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. All right, next on the agenda, we've got a final plat review for Eastern Pride.
Okay. Planning Board, at their last meeting, as some of you are aware because you were there, they approved it, but they wanted two things. They wanted the irrevocable letter of credit, which I have here in my hands, and Pitt Godwin's already reviewed it, said it looks good. And for the water meter to be paid, I have a copy of the check. So they have done everything that you have asked, and that the Planning Board has asked. And we just need your approval to record it.
We don't need a public hearing or anything on this, right?
No, sir.
Now, that letter of credit you're addressing there, is that, which one is that?
I'm sorry, sir, say one more time.
The letter of credit there, what does that one say, state?
This one, irrevocable letter of credit in the amount of $834, beneficiary being Gates County. It's for the retention pond that we discussed.
The defect guarantee thing?
It is for the, hold on, let me flip to my book real quick. Yes.
Well, based on the correspondence with the emails that I sent out, and I didn't realize we had done that, quite frankly, and I think this falls back to what Mr. Jordan was talking about before, is consistency. This does not appear to be consistent of what we had done in the past for this one individual. So I think it's a very appropriate that we continue to be consistent. And I did not find that to be consistent.
Okay, we've got the plat review in front of us for the Eastern Pride. This check was for, the engineer for Eastern Pride is back there. Are we,
Summary.
would you like to step forward a minute? Y'all have any questions
Morning.
for the engineer about the two issues that were brought to the planning board?
I think you followed through fine.
I have none,
I
Mr.
have
Chairman.
none either.
I followed through exactly what was asked.
Okay, if not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the final plat for the Eastern Pride Incorporated.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion that we approve this plat for Eastern Pride to move forward into the development.
Okay, I've got a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, it's been approved.
Okay.
We need to take a break so they can record this for them right away. Morgan's gonna go record it, then she'll come back and finish up the last part. Take about a 5-minute break, Morgan. We need a public hearing on CDGB scattered site. Oh,
Rezoning.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Moved down one too many. All right, we need a public hearing for the Eastern Pride Incorporated rezoning from A1 to C1. Do I have a motion going to public hearing?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we're in public hearing to take public comment on the rezoning of a parcel of land for Eastern Pride from A1 to C1. Are there any public comments on this issue?
Approve it. Approve it.
Good comment. If not any more public comment, we'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing. Dan Bazemore from Hall, from the Hall Township.
I'll make a motion, we come out of closed hearing.
All right, we've got a motion.
Public hearing.
Do I have a second, come out of public hearing?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we're out of the public hearing. Are there any comments from the commissioners on the rezoning from A1 to C1 for the Eastern Pride Incorporation land in the Sunbury area? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the rezoning.
I'll make a motion we approve the rezoning from A1 to C1 for Eastern Pride.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Awesome.
All right, motion carried. You got the building built yet? Okay. I get phone calls from Sunbury every night about when their building is gonna be placed.
It will be delivered, I believe, next Friday. The building will be delivered. I've got a contractor coming on site Monday.
Thank you. We welcome y'all to Gates County.
Thank you, Marie.
All right, next on our agenda, we need a public hearing for the CDGB scattered site. This will be the first public hearing, and I think the Wooten Company will be running this public hearing.
Need a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Well, let's let him first.
I think we'll just follow your standard procedure as far as the public hearing.
Okay, all right, we'll need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're in public hearing to take public comment on the CDGB scattered site, housing project for the Wooten, the Wooten Company is our, contractor that will be handling this project for us. Are there any public input for this, public hearing, this, scattered site housing issue? It's not very active public today, is it?
Can I speak on behalf of the Housing Committee?
You can speak as a public, that's fine.
On behalf of the Housing Committee, we would just like to reinforce our recommendations for the top 4 priority replacements through the scattered site program, and are hopeful that those will be selected and move forward. We've given careful consideration and know 2 of them quite well, and the need is urgent.
If I could ask a question, Colleen, have we got those 4 names yet? Have we gotten those 4 names yet? Okay.
The name is in there.
Okay.
All right, if there are no other public comment, we'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All 3 of y'all, so we're all right. Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we're out of public hearing. Are there any comments from the commissioners on the scattered site housing issue?
Right.
Grant, that's right. That word is not written there. That's why I can't remember it. All right. Henry, have you got anything you want to add to it? I know you're working with this.
Well, now, it's a great opportunity for the county to assist the citizens in housing. The last CDBG, we replaced 4 homes, and at this time, we've got 4 names of needy county citizens, and we've got some backup names in case those don't, for some reason, they fall through. And I'm just glad and thankful that we have an opportunity to participate in it, and we want to allow Wooten to move forward in it.
Okay, there's no action involved in this, I don't believe.
Not at this time.
Would you
no,
like
sir,
to
not.
have any input?
Well, I would just like to introduce myself. My name is Brendan Dolan. I'm with the Wooten Company, of course.
Okay.
We want to thank the county for the opportunity to assist y'all with the preparation of the application for your scattered site project. You've got a lot of dedicated staff people that have pulled together to try to pull together whatever information they could about the needs in the community. And there are lots of needs out there. We certainly won't be able to address all of them with this one particular grant, but we can take an opportunity to make a dent in some of those needs. So this is the first public hearing, or we have just come out of the first public hearing. There will be a second public hearing, at which time we will, in more detail, discuss the specific application and those units and home property owners that have been selected for the project.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome to Gates County,
Thank you very much.
and we'll look forward to working with you.
Likewise.
All right. Well, we'll move on to our new business section now. First thing on there is Miss Carolyn Self. Oh, she is here. I thought you left us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am
How
Carolyn.
you doing
Self.
today?
I am
Welcome.
good. How about you?
All right.
This is quite an education. March, for 100 years now, presidents of the United States have declared March as Red Cross Month, and it's when Red Cross thanks people for giving their time, their blood, and their money. And one thing I have to say about Gates County is they do all 3, and they do it very, very well. We've had great support from the county itself. We are very pleased that Toby Chappell sits on the board of directors in making sure that the services for Gates County that the Red Cross provides are taken care of. I do want to personally thank Colleen Turner for all the help. I'm very shocked to learn I'm losing you. You can't go to Florida. You have to stay here. So when those big moments come and I need you, I'll just pick up the phone and there she'll be. But we have some wonderful people in Gates County, volunteers who step up every day to help out. We have a wonderful husband and wife team here, Stanley and Sylvia Smith, that when there is a house fire and I call them, right away they take care of it. Not just in their county, but also in Hertford County. They cover 2 counties for us. They extend whatever they can to do. Doesn't matter what time I call them, they're always there. And another proud moment we had was when Hurricane Irene was coming through. We were short shelter managers for Chowan County, and we have some wonderfully trained extra shelter managers in Gates now that we called upon, and 2 of them went over and ran the Chowan Middle School shelter for us and got A+ from all of our partners who worked with them. Said it was one of the best shelters they had ever been in, and this was a team that had never run a shelter before. So Gates County can be very, very proud of the people who volunteer for the Red Cross, and I see blood drive signs all over, and you guys are really good about that. But today, I just come to you and just ask that, we sign a proclamation that declares that Gates County is on board for the American Red Cross month, being March. And I just want to thank everyone for all that you do to help the Red Cross. As our proclamation states, that the American Red Cross is synonymous with helping people and has been doing so for more than 130 years. Throughout the past year, the American Red Cross launched hundreds of disaster relief operations in the United States to help people affected by fires, floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes. The American Red Cross also supported major international disasters, including the Japan earthquake, tsunami response, while continuing the work of the 2010 Haiti earthquake response and recovery. In Gates County, the American Red Cross tirelessly works through 1 employee and 65 volunteers to support us when disaster strikes, when someone needs life-saving blood, or the comfort of a helping hand. It provides 24-hour support to members of the military, veterans, and their families, and provides CPR in training in CPR, aquatic safety, and first aid. For nearly 100 years, United States presidents have called on the American Red Cross, American people to support the American Red Cross and its humanitarian mission. Our community depends on the American Red Cross, and because it is not a government agency, the Red Cross depends on support from the public to continue its humanitarian work. This is especially important in these challenging economic times, which impact the Red Cross and many people in our community and across the nation. So I just want to thank all of you for the support that you give us as the Red Cross, and appreciate all that you do for us. And we will continue to do what we have to be there when that phone rings and that call comes in. When someone needs the help of the Red Cross, we will be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, I have a proclamation here. I would like to have a motion that Gates County accepts the proclamation for the American Red Cross Month of 2012. Do I have that motion made?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Wait a minute now. I'll fall down and break my neck. A lot of y'all like to do that outdoors. Cal, will you look at this thing?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, can I say a word before we move on?
Okay.
Two things real quick. One, I think the Gates County owes a huge debt of gratitude to Carolyn. She runs a great organization, and she does it very well. I don't think we can say enough. Carolyn, thank you for all you've done for Gates County, for the other counties. On a personal level, I sit on that board, and I do see a lot of what she does that most of the public and the board doesn't see. And it's yeoman's work. It's a lot of work that she accomplishes, and I want to say thank you. And secondly, she mentioned public support, and I'd like to say publicly that one of the largest fundraisers for our chapter of the Red Cross will be in May. It'll be a golf tournament that's held in Elizabeth City. Cal, I don't know if you can maybe find some space at some point to publicize that fact. Historically, there's been great representation towards the beach in those communities at this fundraiser, and there's been woeful to lacking support further west to us. I'd like to see that change this year, if you could maybe help us with some publicity. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Next on our agenda, our county manager, Toby Chappell, has 3 items.
All right, hopefully these will be relatively brief. The first one is the sheriff would like to surplus one of his Explorers. I recommend that we place it on Gov Deals to be sold.
Any questions?
What is it, when we say source of funds used to purchase or acquire asset, $3,000?
It's just asking, did the feds give us this money through grants, or did the state give it to us, or is it just county general fund money? It's just identifying where the money came from to purchase it.
That's what we purchased it for?
I doubt it. I'm not attested to the correctness of the statement.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah,
well, anyway, I guess filled it in with something.
yeah, he did.
All right, if not, we'll entertain a motion to allow the sheriff to surplus this vehicle on .govs or gov.deals.
So moved.
Gov deals, whatever.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Okay, second item I have is this is the 3rd year of our 3-year contract with Martin and Starnes. The wording is virtually identical. There are very minor changes that I've identified. The only significant change is that the price, as to be expected, has gone up by $1,400 for their services for next year's audit.
And this is the last year of the contract?
Yes, I believe we initially signed a 3-year contract, and each year we've signed almost like a renewal, and the things that have changed, the thing that has changed the most significant is the price has moved a little bit each year, but the substantive parts of the contract have remained virtually unchanged.
Okay. Any questions on this, gentleman?
So, this is, and I know it's 2-3 years. This will be the 3rd year of the audit, right?
Correct. 3rd year of the original agreement that we signed. So, so a year from today, you can elect to put it back out to bid, you can elect to extend this further, you have all your options on the table.
And a comment on that, which I think they have done a very good job. However, I do not like, and when I was doing this, we never went to the same place twice, never, as internal audit throughout the company. And that's a good thing, because you have to learn something new each time. You have new personalities. You have new discovery tactics. And I think the first time back when brought this up before these people were hired, we had been doing it for 5 years. 3 years is a good time frame to turn over. So I have no objections on this, because that's fine. But I do think we need to entertain and be prepared next year that we change and hit the marketplace, do the same thing. And you can get some very bad habits. It's nice if you know the people that are coming to you, because, believe me, they're human beings. They ask the same kind of questions. You even have yourself prepared. But auditors are good things. They come to help you most of the case. And if you listen to them, you can grow. So I'm very happy with what they're doing. They make a good presentation. I find very few things in their audit that I saw that was incorrect or typos, little addition here or whatever, but for the most part, they were very good. And I think we need to move on this for the 3rd year. But I would like to say, next year, I would like to see us make a change.
Are you making this motion that we?
I make a motion we accept the contract as presented for Martin Stearns to audit Gates County's books for the year, for the 3rd year.
All right, we've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right.
Okay.
Next thing on the agenda.
Last thing for me is the Personnel Board recommendations. Personnel Board met, which consists of Vice Chairman Jordan, Chairman Twine, and myself, February 15th. The main issues we addressed were there were a few inconsistencies that were brought up and were modified specifically as they relate around to departments notifying the county manager and the finance department when employees leave or are hired. That's addressed in a new section, which is 8.1.1. All the changes are in red. The new 8.1.1 section will require all departments to report to the county manager and finance officer within 24 hours of receiving a notification change, so that the proper paperwork, exit paperwork, and hiring paperwork can be done in a timely manner. The other two, that change, 8.1 changes also section 1.4 to make it applicable to all county employees. The next significant change dealt with leave without pay status, which is 6.5.1, which will now clarify who can give leave without pay and for how long leave without pay can occur by each person who has the authority to grant it, and will also affect what insurance benefits accrue or do not accrue in different leaves of pay without status. Leave without pay status, yes. And I'll yield to the chairman and vice chairman to have any other comments, but that's the gist of the modifications.
Gentlemen, I recommend that we move on these changes. The three of us worked on this for several hours trying to make some of the problems that we had found in the personnel board, personnel policies to reflect the issues that need to be changed. And,
I would recommend the 24 hours be changed and modified to at least 48 hours due to a Friday, 5 o'clock. See you later.
Could happen.
Let's see, which one is, that's at the,
8.11.
8.1.1. There it is.
Other than that, I really don't see, I mean, it's,
That's 2 days. I mean, it's 1 day.
Within 24 hours receiving
well,
notice.
like I said, it happened Friday at 4:30. I'm sorry, I'll see you.
Well, it would need to be 72, wouldn't it?
I think business day.
That's what I was gonna say, that seems to make the
Yeah,
most
that
sense.
would be great.
We'll just, the change will be, instead of
Within one
24 hours,
business
within
day.
one business day.
One business day.
All right. Is there any other issues? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept these as the personnel board presented with the modification.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we accept the personnel ordinance changes as presented with the one modification in section 8.11.
All right, got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, next on our agenda, citizens' comments. Are there any other citizens' comments for the day? We don't have any signed up, but we'll welcome anybody that has anything we'd like to say. If not, 4 or 5 of y'all left. If not, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Jack, have you got any comments?
No, sir.
Johnny, have you got anything?
I appreciate all of those that are here and those that have stayed, have been, and have a very happy St. Patty's Day.
All right, Johnny?
I'd like to thank
Henry?
everyone for coming, and I want to thank you for allowing me to have served you, the county, for the past 3+ years. And I do hope that the way that I've conducted myself and conducted business for the county, that you will see in favor of continuing to allow me to serve you for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. I've got one here. I've got a letter of thank you, a note of thank you. It says, Commissioners, words cannot express my sincere and appreciation for the plaque and gift certificate that you presented to me on my retirement. It was a very special way to honor me, and it will always be cherished and remembered. May the Lord continue to bless the many services that you render the citizens of Gates County. And this was sent by Chief Deputy Billy Spruill, or retired Chief Deputy Billy Spruill, to us this week. And I'll let y'all know, I saw Billy this morning. He stops in the store right often. He's living in Windfall now, and he seems to be doing okay. He wanted to go to the mountains, but he had to stay close to the grandyoungins. Other than that, I thank y'all for coming. We appreciate y'all being here and sticking with us to the end of the meeting. We'll also have to go into closed session, and we will be adjourning to the Commissioner's room for closed session as authorized by General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, gentlemen, we need a motion to go out of closed session.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Any other discussion that we need to have? If not, we'll entertain a motion to recess until the evening meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.